Hello.
Hi.
How's all with you? All good, yeah?
Yeah, it's been pretty busy working, getting out doing presentations
Yeah.
all around. I was in New Mexico yesterday, just got back
Oh
last
wow.
night, doing some
Cool.
some work and have a bunch more things coming up. We have a movie that's starting filming.
No way.
Yeah, I got a whole lot of things going on. So
Wow.
it's been
Is that
good. Been
is that
very
movie
good.
based on your life? As
It's based on, so you've seen the picture with the black gentleman over the rail,
yeah,
the
Kevin
bridge,
Bertia, did I say his
Berthea.
name? Bertia, what's sure about how
Yes.
to pronounce it?
So
Okay.
I do a lot of speaking with him, and the show is going to be about that uh, that episode of what happened there, and it's going to be called. We just got the name of it 2 days ago. The name's going to be 92 minutes because that's how
Wow.
long we were there speaking. So
Wow.
I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah.
That is cool, man. Like that's first how I heard you. I was just, randomly going through YouTube and I seen this video. I was like, whoa, when I clicked, I was like, wow, what a story. Like this amazing story, man.
So
Crazy.
it's neat. We get the opportunity to present together, cover a lot of bases, and it's been neat. Now, where are you based? Where are you at?
I'm in Ireland.
Where at in Ireland?
The West Coast, Sligo.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
so we're nice seaside place.
very cool. I have never been there. I have a
Really?
half brother who goes there once a year, all over there. So
Ah, man, you'd love it. Ireland's great
on the
crack.
list. It's
It's
on the list.
it's
With a
on the
name
list.
like Briggs, that's
Yeah,
you
yeah,
got to get there.
you know. We probably should start with the story about Kevin Berthia. Like, I was kind of a bit shocked that kind of after it, he kind of went into another slump again until he kind of,
Yes,
so he kind of met
yes,
up with you again and then kind of came out of it.
yes,
Can you like describe how that all went about?
sure. And then if you need that picture, I can send that picture over
Oh
to
yeah,
you later.
that'd be great, man. That'd be great.
Let me make a note. Yeah,
Cool.
do you want to know that story of how it
Yeah,
all happened?
man, that'd be brilliant.
Sure. So I'm working with the California Highway Patrol, and I'm just doing my regular beat check, riding around on my motorcycle, when I receive a call of a man on the sidewalk talking on a cell phone saying that he's going to jump off the bridge. Now, mind you, I would get these calls 4 to 6 times a month. It was fairly frequent. So I started working my way down from the north end of the bridge to the south end towards going towards San Francisco. And as I neared the North Tower, I see the description of him. Looks like him, matching the description.
Hmm.
So I stopped about 50 feet, 75 feet away from him, and he's still on a cell phone. As I'm getting off of my motorcycle, he looks my direction and then runs over and jumps over the rail.
Whoa.
And all I had time to do was yell something at him. I don't remember what it was, but I yelled something at him. And when I did it, caught his attention. He reached out, grabbed the rail, and swung around, and he hit the outside of it. He slammed into it, made a horrible sound. And I thought he was gone.
Yeah.
220 feet down. It's a long way to fall. Very few people survive. But I ran up there and I could see his white t shirt through the slots in the bridge. So I stepped back, and I have kind of a different approach when I talk to folks who are over the rail. I just raised my right hand and said, "Hi, I'm Kevin. Is it okay if I come up and talk with you for a while?" So I don't want to be Kevin Richard Briggs, California Highway Patrol, anything like that. I
Yeah.
just want to be Kevin, just another human coming up. He was mad. He was really angry, and he didn't want anything to do with me. And he kept saying, if you come one step closer, I'm jumping. He just wanted to be left alone.
Wow.
So it's a very precarious situation. It's cold, it's damp out there all the time, it's very windy. We got cars going by. It's a crappy place to do a negotiation of any sort.
Right, right.
So it was quite some time, 20 minutes, something like that, before he allowed me to come up and speak with him. And I kept telling him, all I want to do is come up and talk with you. Nobody else is coming up. Nobody's going to grab you. And I don't grab folks. I think it takes so much courage to go over that rail to begin with. Imagine the courage that it takes to come back over that rail and face everything.
Yeah.
So that's what I want them to do, is to get that courage and make that choice to come back over. And I think long term that will really help them. So I kept talking with him and talking with him. And finally, he allowed me to come up and speak with him. And then I tried to kneel down on the concrete and kind of be at eye level with him, but he kept looking down most of the time. The good thing was he was facing in and not towards the water. So he's facing in, looking at me, but with his head down. So he didn't look at me very often. But I finally got him to open up about what had been going on. And it took a long time. We were there in total an hour and a half, a little over an hour and a half. But it took him quite some time to where he felt comfortable and started opening up. And what he told me, it's brutal stuff what he had been going through. So he was adopted. His birth mother gave him up. And that really affects people later on in life. They
Yeah.
think they're not good enough, and a lot of things happen.
Yeah.
So he was adopted at 6 months. His adopted parents loved him very much, and he had a good life growing up in Oakland, but he struggled a lot too, and he didn't know why. So what he did as a coping mechanism was to play sports, and he played every sport there was. What he would do, it was just all the practices during the week and then games on the weekend. He would just run himself ragged. And as long as he could get really, really tired, then he can kind of pass out at night, because that's when he had a very struggling time, was at night sleeping. That's when things were not good for him. So as long as he could just run himself ragged and get really tired and exhausted, then he could kind of pass out and get some rest. So this was great all through school. But when he turned 13, his adopted parents divorced. And that really broke his heart. And it wasn't explained to him why they divorced. So he thought maybe he was the cause of this. And it really hit him hard. This was a tough one. And once he got out of school, he had to figure out something to do. So he started working, got a job, but it wasn't enough. So he went and got another job. He's working 2 full-time jobs.
Oh.
On this, then he also thought, what else could I be doing? And he had a girlfriend and said, you know what? I want to start a family. If I start a family, it'll give me meaning and things will get better. So they had a child, but his baby was born premature by a couple of months and had to stay in the hospital. Now he thinks, you know what did I do to cause harm to this baby? And it just ate him up. It was very difficult for him to handle. His child had to stay in the hospital a couple of months. And when she was able to come home, so did a bill for around $250,000, $250,000. Now,
God.
he thinks, yeah, it was tough. He thinks, I caused harm to my baby. I can't pay these bills. Not only did he lose one job, but he lost both of his jobs. So he's just beating himself up that he hurt his baby. He couldn't take care of his family. Finally, he's just had enough.
Mm-hmm.
Never been to the Golden Gate Bridge before, but he made a decision that day that he's going to end his life. So he went from Oakland, found his way, and had to go through the Bay Bridge, which connects Oakland to San Francisco, and asked the toll taker how to get to the bridge. And she said, just follow the signs. So he worked his way up to the bridge, Golden Gate Bridge, having never been there. And this is where we come to where I meet him. So I'm thinking, what can I use in negotiators' world as a hook, something that either we have in common or something that he likes to talk about? Well, his child, and it was still a new baby, hadn't even had her first birthday yet. So I really started focusing on this, because what happens was when these folks are in this state of mind to where they are contemplating suicide, and whatever it is right there, whether they're on top of a building, a gun to their head, on top of this bridge, they're in such this negative bubble that anything positive really has a hard time getting in. So I started talking about his child. Tell me your name. What's she like? How old is she? And still just a baby. Hasn't even had her first birthday yet. Her first birthday was coming up the following month. So I started focusing on her more and more and more. And I could see he was starting to break down some. And the emotions were coming out. And I said, Kev, don't you want to be there for your daughter's first birthday? And I said something I typically don't do when I'm up there doing this, but I said, brother, you can come back here anytime you want. But today, let's get you back over this rail and to your daughter. And then I gave him a break. I said, Kev, we've been talking for over an hour here, and I want to give you a break to think about everything. But I'm only going to step back if you promise me not to do anything until I come back up here. And he agreed to it. And I do this quite often with folks because I think so many things are going through in their mind. I want to give them a break and allow
Yeah.
them to think about everything. So I've never lost one doing this. And it's always generally worked out well. So I stepped back and let him have some time, gave him a few minutes. And then again, I raised my right hand. I said, Kev, is it okay if I come back up? And he allowed me to. And I focused more on his child and her upcoming birthday. And I also asked him, Kev, if you jump today, how do you think your daughter's going to feel when she's older and she can really think about what is going on? Now, which is strange, is in a clinical setting, I've had some mental health professionals tell me, you know what, that's shaming and you shouldn't do that. But I'm going to tell
Okay.
them, you haven't done what I do and you're mistaken, because they are such this negative bubble around them and everything that's going on in their mind. A lot of times they don't think about something positive.
Mm.
So I wanted to focus on that and get him to really think about what he is contemplating doing and what it does to other people. So I did not say, how could you do this for your family?
Mm.
But how do you think your family's going to feel about this, especially your daughter when she grows up? And we know in family suicide, if a person loses their life, it can start something with other family members too.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
really wanted him to think about this. And this hit him hard, and he thought about it. I said, Kev, let's get you back to your daughter, brother. And he looked up at me and he said, I want to come back over. So this took about an hour and a half to do. And when he came back over, before we left that scene, I asked him, because I want to learn off of each and every person. And I learned this the hard way by doing these things.
Mm. Mm.
So I asked him, what did I do that helped this situation? And what did I do that maybe wasn't so good that hurt this situation? And he said, you listened. You let me speak and you listened. So what I take out of that is that I didn't try to fix anything and tell him what he should have been doing or should have done, but I was just there as a sounding board to try to understand what he is going through. So I've learned this along the way, and we have what we call in America crisis intervention team training, CIT. I
Right.
did do that some years after I started working on the bridge. And then I went through the FBI crisis negotiator school way later in my career. But all of these things should have taken place well before I stepped foot on that bridge to do this kind of work,
Yeah.
you know?
Wow.
So we didn't see each other for years. And then I was invited. We have an organization, a large organization here in America called American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And they got a hold of me and asked if I would fly out to New York from California and get this award from them, a Lifesavers Award. I didn't want to fly all the way to New York. It's a long flight, and I didn't
Yeah.
really want an award because there's other people that do the same work that I do. So they called me a couple of times, and I kept turning it down. And then they called my commander. And yep, I'm going out to New York. He's telling me what I'm going to do. So then they asked, is there anyone who you saved that we can get to come out and present you with this award? And I don't want anything to do with that. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Tell someone, hey, remember I saved you on the bridge? I
Yeah.
don't follow up with folks. For one, I don't think I saved anybody. I was there on a very dark day and maybe helped them through a dark day. I don't use the word saved. I don't like it. I didn't rush into a burning building. But I had a letter from Kevin's mother that she had written to me a couple of weeks after this event. And I had that. And if you'd like, I could read that to you.
Oh yeah, sure. Be listen.
Well, I should have had it out here with me. Let me dig it up real quick. Oh,
It's all good.
so her name is Narvella. And it says, Dear Mr. Briggs, nothing will erase the events of March 11th, but you are one of the reasons Kevin is still with us. I truly believe Kevin was crying out for help. He has been diagnosed with a mental illness for which he has been properly medicated. I adopted Kevin when he was only 6 months old, completely unaware of any hereditary traits. But Thank God, now we know. Kevin is straight, as he says. We truly thank God for you. Sincerely indebted to you, Narvella Berthia. So I had this with envelope with the address on it. So I told my commander, I will go over to Oakland, knock on the door of that address and see if she still lives there and if she thinks it's appropriate for Kevin to meet me and go out to New York. So I went out there and contacted her, and nobody wants a policeman at your front door. Is that ever any positive?
Yeah.
So after she realized who I was, she gave me a big hug. I went inside. We talked for a long time. She got a hold of Kevin, and we met for the first time years later in New York City at this very, very kind of formal, prestigious event. And we went up on stage, and I did not realize that photo that many people have seen, Kevin Berthia hated that photo because according to him, it shows a black man at a very weak point in their life. And coming from Oakland, you do not show a weakness. So he hated that photo.
Okay.
But when he went up and spoke, he got a standing ovation. And he learned that day that he can come out and talk about that particular day in his life in the hopes of helping others. So he and I started working together, and we're doing more and more and more together nowadays and traveling together. And I think we crossed so many barriers and hit so many bases regarding mental health. I talk about what I have been through with a whole gamut of things and what he has been through and some of the things that I have tried, some of the, just some medications and some therapies and different things, what has worked for me, because we have so many first responders going through so much and just everyday people that have gone through so much. How can we prevent people from getting up to those levels? And how do we have that communication and that talk with someone who may be in crisis? So it's been a blessing. I retired from the Highway Patrol 10 years ago to come out and do this, and I've been pretty busy ever since. So it's been a blessing. It's been very humbling.
It's an incredible story. It's an amazing story. But I think people don't understand. Some people say, how could somebody kill themselves? Or even try to kill herself. But when you're feeling that bad, and I've been to points where I felt bad, something that doesn't enter your mind. It's just you're so bad that the thought of going on is harder than the thought of not going on, if you know what I mean. When you're at that low ebb point, you're sinking and you're sinking and you're sinking, and you feel kind of worthless to everyone around you. You have that feeling of like, oh well, everyone would be better off without me, and that kind of thing.
Right. People get in such a dark place and they think in their mind they've exhausted all means, all coping mechanisms. Nothing's going to get better. And then eventually, they don't see tomorrow. All the people that I've spoke with, they don't see tomorrow. And can you imagine what that must feel like? They know they're going to die today in their mind. So they have no plans. They don't see tomorrow. I would get people in cars in the parking lots around the bridge that have been in their cars for 1 to 2 hours. And I would come up on them to check on them and see maybe they're writing a note. Well, is it a suicide note? Or is it a card saying, hey, I'm having a wonderful time here. I wish you all were here. We don't know.
Yeah.
So I would come up and start talking to them just a few minutes and say, I'm just checking on you. How you doing? And then I would say something like, you know what? Tomorrow's supposed to be a beautiful day here. I have to work. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And if they can't answer me like that, something's up. Because every single person can tell me what they are doing tomorrow, whether they're doing nothing but sitting at home watching TV. They're going to tell me something. So when you can't tell me something, they look at me with this blank stare, something's up. And that's where these folks get, is they don't see tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that's a very dark place.
Why do you think so many people choose the Golden State Bridge? Like, what is it about that bridge? There's a lot of bridges in America, but what is it about that bridge?
There is. Yeah. I had a gentleman come from the East Coast, a very, very intelligent gentleman, just 32 years old. And I talked with him for an hour before he left. And I asked him, why did you fly, these thousands of miles just to get to this bridge? And he told me it'll get the job done. And he did jump and lose his life. There's that. There's a spiritual thing about being this Golden Gate Bridge and dropping the 220 feet in the air and hitting this water that may cleanse you. It's all crap. because I can tell you it's a very fast fall. You're falling at like 75 miles an hour. You hit that water, you break a lot of bones that can puncture your lungs and other organs. And then what happens is, yeah, you might survive the fall, but then they drown. It's a horrible way to go.
Yeah, I can imagine. And so you've kind of you didn't don't like to say the word saved, but you've intervened and we'd say got people about 200 people off. Do you remember all those people that you've intervened with?
No, not at all.
No, no.
I tell folks I can talk to somebody over the rail a
Yeah.
lot, and I won't remember them for the most part unless it's something really different.
Yeah.
It's the ones that have taken their life that you really remember. That's in your head. That's the one that's can mess you up.
So
So
you've seen people kind of take their life in front of you.
yeah, it does happen.
Wow.
It's unfortunate,
Wow.
and it breaks your heart. You're always thinking, what could I have done better? Should I have brought in somebody else to speak to them? Maybe I wasn't building the rapport that was needed.
Yeah.
But deep down, I know I did the best that I could with the knowledge that I had at the time. But we do. People may think that cops do this all the time and they don't care, whatever. No, it lives with me forever. And there's this little piece of me that says, what could I have done better? But then also, it is their choice. But you know what? These folks are not in their right, healthy mind
Yeah.
either. So yeah, they made the choice, but they are also weren't right in their mind. It wasn't a healthy mind at the time. So
Yeah. It has to be kind of it has to be an emotionally draining job because I'm sure it's not like a job that you could do and then go home and you can cut it off. It
you
has
don't.
to. Yeah.
No,
Yeah. That had to kind of take a toll on your mental health sometimes, I'm sure.
it does. Yes, but you know what? It's the look of people's eyes when I'm looking at them and looking in their eyes and seeing this desperation and this need. They want to live, but they don't know how.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's very, very difficult. And once you see that, and then you see the look in somebody's eyes when they come back over that rail, they're scared, they're frightened, but they're also, somewhat happy to still be here.
Yeah.
So I've had a pretty colorful past with a lot of negative things and losing my grandfather to suicide. So once I saw this happening, I go, you know what? I think this is going to be my niche, something that I want to get into, even though it's sick and it's horrible. Somebody has to do this, man.
Yeah. So like the bridge, how long is that when you're patrolling it? Like how does that go about? Do you go the whole length of the bridge or is there different
Yes.
guys? Oh, you do, yeah?
No, it's actually quite, we call it a beat, but
Oh,
it's
right.
it goes. So we handled not only the bridge, but down into San Francisco, which is a few miles, and
Ah.
then the parking lots around the bridge, and then up and over this hill through this tunnel. And so it's a huge beat. It just doesn't incorporate the bridge. It's a lot of area for one person to handle.
Oh.
But after the tragedy here of 9/11, when we were bombed, the bridge being such an icon, we added officers, more officers working down there. So then the work got spread out a bit, which is good.
Oh. And how did you get into that line of work?
Into the highway patrol.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, I was working. Have you ever heard of San Quentin State Prison?
Yes, I have, yeah.
Okay. Well, I worked there. I've had
Wow, no
these
way,
bunch of
man.
jobs. Yeah, that's
Whoa.
that's in Marin County where I grew up and where I live. So
Wow.
I was working at San Quentin as a correctional officer, and the guy I was working with said, "Hey, I'm going out for the highway patrol. Come on and do it with me." And I had seen these guys in the highway patrol, and everybody looked squared away and really intelligent and things like, "I'll never make it. I can't do that." But he kept bugging me to do it. So I
Yeah.
went out and tried out for it, made it to the academy, studied hard, graduated. Unfortunately, he didn't make it, but I did. So,
That's irony.
isn't it?
Wow. So you went from San Quentin to that, man. You must have some crazy stories
Yeah.
about San Quentin.
I
Jeez.
worked there 2 years and then another prison down south called
Wow.
Soledad prison for
Wow.
1 year and then 2 years at San Quentin. So 3 years in corrections and then 23 with the highway patrol.
Wow. 23 years. That's amazing, man. Jeez. So
Yeah, I
what
wanted to do more. I left early to come out and do these presentations and talk to folks. So,
yeah. So, do you travel like all around now around America doing talks about like suicide prevention? Because you're involved in
yes,
that now.
yes, I do it quite frequently. Uh, and then I've been like over to Germany presenting
Oh, cool.
to Australia, New Zealand. I went to Borneo, Mexico a few times. I'm going to Canada for my third time in another week and a half.
Oh,
So a
wow.
lot of things, in the mix. Did a book, and we have a movie being filmed now. So I came out with this having spent my entire life, working life,
Hmm.
in government service, from the Army to corrections to the Highway Patrol. And then getting these requests to come out and talk, I go, I don't know. I'm not a public speaker. I'm just a little highway patrol guy. So I have some very good mentors, and I took a chance. I left early. I left at age 50, but I needed full medical because I'm kind of a mess. But to come out and do this, it was a whole change of life. I have been, like I said, in government service all my life. To
Hmm.
come out on my own, I said, boy, I might be washing dishes here in a couple of weeks. We're going to give it a hell of a try. And it's been 10 years. So far, so good. It's been very humbling, and I'm grateful.
Wow. That's a good thing though about within the mental health sphere of kind of life. Like even when I was a kid, it was quite you'd feel a bit awkward telling people you felt depressed and stuff like that. Like
Yes,
thankfully now there's a bit more, you know, not in every place, but there it is more you can actually open up more and not feel like, oh, I can't really
yes.
say that and I can't really say this.
You
So
really can. And I thought I didn't talk about my stuff because I've had these big macho jobs, and I didn't tell anybody anything.
really,
And I waited 45 years before I talked about some things that were very,
wow.
very brutal with me. But once I did, nobody cared, like a negative way. I got so much support, and I was able to get and finally see a psychiatrist and work on me. And I've done several therapies. And I tell folks, I didn't lose friends. Family members still talk to me. I didn't lose my job. So many things happened. Look, I get to come out here and talk on stage to folks and show them all these things I've been through. Didn't matter. I wasn't judged on those
Yeah.
nowadays. So that's very, very important.
Does a lot of people come up to you and kind of talk about their stories to you when you go around speaking and stuff like that?
Yes. And that's really neat to come out and do this. So I'll get up on stage for an hour, 2 hours, whatever that is. And then afterwards is kind of my therapy time, because I get to go off the stage and talk to folks, and they want to come up. Hey, thank you for presenting and talking about that. You know what? I had all these things happen to me, almost like you, feeling like crap. Life, isn't what it used to be, or how good as it can be. I'm going to get some help. I'm
Yeah,
so perfect. I did my job.
yeah.
Good.
I always kind of think is modern life, does it add to kind of our, like depression and stuff like that? Because I think we kind of live in a way that we probably, as humans, probably aren't built to live, if you know what I mean, like phones and stuff and all that kind of stuff. And I think sometimes the internet can be a bad thing when you see people succeeding and then people think, oh, well, I'm a failure because I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. It's like, I don't know, the modern life, I think, has an effect on our brains as well as I think it just adds to the mental issues you probably would already have, if you know what I mean.
I agree with you 100%. And there's actually just some studies that came out talking about loneliness, because here we are in front of this computer, a lot of times all day long, and kids are gaming many, many
Mm,
hours.
mm,
I know several people, including one of my boys, who games a lot, but you're not getting that communication. You're not building your communication skills. And
yeah.
I'm really big on having a support system where you get out of the house or you meet in their house with people, and you look them in the eye and you have conversations. You put that phone down and away. We are so used. Go to an airport and what do you see? Everybody's looking down at their
I
phone.
know.
Train
I
station.
know. I know.
So we are losing those skills, and people are becoming more and more lonely because they're sitting at home, because life is so easy. We can order everything off of Amazon. We can get food delivered. We're not having those conversations, and just everyday conversations are important. Talking about cars, or whatever it may be.
Mm,
Very, very important. And I didn't realize this until after I retired, how important this was. So I have this now, and I just did it today. I met with
yeah.
folks who had nothing to do with the highway patrol. So we're meeting, 4 days a week or so at a coffee shop, and we just
That's
talk about
cool.
everything.
That's cool. You need that though, because it kind
You
of adds a,
need
yeah, it adds like a balance to your life, doesn't it?
It's very important. However you do it, yeah, I swear by it. I have this thing that I developed called a quality of life triad, and it's a triangle with other triangles inside of it. But we have to put ourselves on top. I talk about self care and
Mm,
self compassion, and what are you doing for you? And the pillars of this, there's just two, because I tell folks I'm not going to read some 300-page self-help book. I'm not going to.
No,
But this,
no.
so we have our own self-care, and then you have two pillars, and one pillar is support. What are you doing for support for you? It can't even be your dog, your cat, whatever that may be. Hanging
Yeah,
out with. Besides your support of going out for coffee or meeting folks or social clubs or church or whatever that is. And
yeah,
on the other pillar that supports you is your professional care. And that's not just someone in the mental health field, but maybe your yoga instructor, if you do that, a mentor, a life coach, a teacher, instructor, anybody along those lines that helps you. So you have your professional care, your support leading up to assist you. And I think it's very, very important with it.
yeah. Like I definitely agree with that. The movie, is it going to be on? Is it? Have you got a network for it, or is there going to be? Is there a studio involved, or can you say much about it? I don't want to be.
Yes, we've
Yeah.
been given the green light. We don't know where it's going to go yet. They're just starting, so they're going to pitch it to Netflix and all the big wigs, and we'll see what happens. The company is called Photolanthropy,
Right.
and they take causes, and what they do is they'll find several different causes they like, have meetings and meetings and meetings and meetings, and find out one that they really want to focus on. So they chose
Mhm.
us,
That's
myself with
cool.
Kevin Berthia, and they're based in Dallas, Texas. So we went there and we did a few days of shooting, and now we're doing a lot of groundwork for it. And once we get all that, then they're going to pitch it to the big studios and see what happened. They have had success with like Netflix and other ones, so
Okay.
they're really hoping for a big time with this one.
That is
And
good.
I like them because they talk about, like, when I left the highway patrol, I
Mm,
told myself first it's about cause, and then it's about the business, about paying bills. And if that changes, I'm doing something wrong. I'm probably letting my ego get involved, which I
mm.
don't want. This is about helping others. And that's what this company is about too.
Yeah, that's
We're
great,
hoping for
man.
something special to really reach out and touch people.
What's an amazing story. Like I mean, your whole life is an amazing story. That's. Well, I think what's cool about that is, to have someone help you that you don't know is such an amazing thing. That, like, you help so many people that you don't know, and sometimes in life we can kind of get bogged down in that, like, there's so much cruelty in life, and then stuff like that shows that there is, it kind of gives you hope in life, as corny as that
And
sounds.
that's what I hope. Not only was it my job, but it's something that I was very, very interested in,
Yeah.
and still very interested in. I study a lot, and I talk to a lot of people, but I want to bring stuff that's down to earth that we can use right here, right now.
Mm,
What's going to help someone past a very dark time, and then get them to a mental health professional that hopefully they are trained in whatever that may be, suicide assessment, PTSD, whatever that is, where they can do their work and we start to get this person on a good path. So
yeah.
I don't delve into what they do, but I know my stuff can work. I've just done it too many times, and I've learned off the backs of everybody I've talked to. So, I've learned from the folks who are doing this, who are thinking about suicide.
Have
And
do you ever miss being on the beat?
I loved what I did as an officer. Being a sergeant, I was kind of stuck behind the desk all the time. Even though
Yeah.
I was a motor sergeant riding the motorcycles, I was still stuck behind the desk all the time. So it wasn't as fun. It was safer. It was a lot safer,
Yeah.
but I enjoyed getting out there, and still, even when I was on the job, going to coffee shops and talking to people, because you're always on the job, and then getting out there and talking with folks. But I
Cool.
like what I do now.
Mm.
It seems like it's a hell of a lot more work than what I did with the highway patrol, but it's pretty fulfilling too.
Cool. What kind of bike did you have?
So we had some different ones. We had Harleys when I left.
Oh, no way.
We
That's
hadn't had
cool.
Harleys for
That's cool.
when I first came on the patrol in 1990. They had Harley Davidsons, and then they went over to Kawasaki's and then BMWs for a long time. Ended up with a few Kawasaki's, which were extremely fast.
Mm.
And then they were just we. I was the motor sergeant. I delegate who gets the bikes. So we had a thing to where if you ran out your bike, meaning you had too many miles, at the time it was 60,000, I think, we would turn a motorcycle in. That individual would get the next new bike. Well, it just so happens it was a brand
Um,
new officer on motors. So all the older motors were very, very angry when we got this new Harley Davidson and first one in the fleet, and I gave it to this guy. But that was the unwritten rule, was when a bike ran out, you get the first new one. So I didn't want to write it because it was one of the last days before I was retiring, and I didn't want to crash the brand new bike. So I
That'd
had
be
him drive
hilarious.
it down to the bridge, and I took a lot of photos on it. I
That'd be
thought, he goes, take
hilarious.
it, Sarge, take it right. I go, no, dude, if I crash this bike, this is going to be my legacy. I'm not doing it.
That'd be cool though. Do you know who's playing you in the movie?
No, I don't even know how it's going to really be structured. I haven't asked. So I, I don't know. It's going to be a documentary style,
Oh,
but
okay, okay.
yeah, it's going to definitely be documentary style. So I don't quite know how they're going to do it. I've watched a couple of their documentaries and it's been very well done. I don't like shows that are just heartbreak the entire time. You kind of want this ride up and down and up and down.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to do it justice, and they've really done a lot of research on this. It's been interesting so far, and we've been talking about it for over a year. We just started acting upon this. So
Oh, great. That's amazing. Man, I thanks so much for doing this. I appreciate your time. So
oh,
it's
my
it's
pleasure.
it's
All the
so
way to Ireland. I go, this is cool.
man,
So
it's such a great story. Like the just great, man. What you did was amazing work. Amazing work.
oh, well,
And
thank you very much.
thank you so much for doing this, and wish you all the best, and I'll definitely be watching that documentary when it comes out.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the time.
All right, Kevin. Hey, thanks
If you
very
need me
much.
from it, I'll send you over that photo. And if you
Please,
need me
please
from me,
do.
just reach out.
Oh, cool. You're a gentleman. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I'll
Thank you.
send you the link for this when it's done and see what you think. And yeah.
Fantastic. Look forward to it.
Cheers, brother. Have a good
All
day.
right. Take care. Bye
See ya.
bye.